The Linux Action Show is created by Jupiter Broadcasting. It's sponsored by Ting. Go to last.ting.com to save off your first device or plan. And DigitalOcean. Go to digitalocean.com and use the promo code Here's the Thing, all one word like you're slurring it, and spin up your own Linux rig for free. And Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged and invest in your mind while saving some money. Welcome to Linux Action Show episode 463. My name is Chris.
My name is Noah.
Hello there, Noah.
Hey there, Chris.
We have a big episode this week. We are live at Dell in Austin, Texas. We broke in. We actually got through a back window they didn't know was open. We snuck through under the floorboarding and found out all of the secrets about Dell.
Which was modular, the floor.
Yes, and we're going to expose them right here on this week's episode. No, actually what we found is that Dell was working on something pretty big with Linux. Now, everybody's familiar with probably Dell's enterprise legacy with Linux. Well, this week, we're not going to tell just that story. We're going to tell a much bigger picture story about what's going on with Linux at Dell. So we're going to walk around, you're going to meet people, we're going to show you projects they're working on, all of that stuff in this week's episode. But also, coming up in the news, we're going to talk about Canonical's massive decision to discontinue work on Unity and focus on Gnome, scale back on Ubuntu Phone and Touch completely, and move their desktop over to Wayland. This is a huge story.
This is the biggest week we've ever done since I've been on the show.
Yeah, this is between our visit here, being a live show, and this massive Ubuntu news. Which has such huge ramifications. It's kind of amazing because it was almost perfect for us to be at Dell when this news broke. Mm-hmm. We were sitting in a meeting. I was looking at my phone right as the news broke. And, of course, Dell is shipping tons of systems loaded with Ubuntu and Unity.
And you're going to see them coming up.
So this is going to be a big transition for companies like Dell and others that are shipping products based on this.
Absolutely.
So, but that is just the tip of the iceberg of the ramifications.
Right.
So we're gonna get into all of that. Also, one of our favorite topics, almost as if they knew we were wrapping up the show in a few weeks. Lightworks has a new release out, version 14 of Lightworks, and it promises to modernize the video editing workflow under Linux. They're getting rid of the tape legacy, and they're switching over to digital with a whole new UI. So we thought, why not give it a go on the world's fastest Linux laptop? So we'll give you our take on Lightworks 14 coming up in a little bit. Plus, we have feedback, so many things to dig into. But before we've got that, you know what we've got?
The picks!
That's right, this coffee machine runs Linux. Right here, we're standing in front of a giant Linux computer that dispenses coffees. It's our Runs Linux. It's our first pick this week, and we're in person with the Runs Linux coffee machine. How cool is this?
That's pretty cool. So we were walking over here, and basically, Jared, come over here, Jared. Jared was telling us, he said,
Jared's drinking a coffee.
Jared's drinking a coffee from the shop machine that runs Linux. And he's talking...
running on Linux.
Oh, he has jokes. The guy's got jokes. But so we're walking over here, and he says, guys, there's this coffee machine. Oh, by the way, it's kind of cool. It runs Ubuntu. And I'm like, it runs Ubuntu? You did take a video for us so we can show it to the last audience. And he goes, no, I didn't take a video. So we have shut the whole place down for a moment. Yeah. So we can film this runs Linux. So tell me about that.
And it's great because, so this is I don't know if they're selling these in production yet, but this... Last time I talked to one of these guys that was working on servicing this machine, it was only two. There's the one they have, and there's this one. So we work with, sometimes we work with other companies to have try out stuff. This is amazing. So I ordered this with half a sugar and vanilla flavoring, and with soy milk. And
you put it
did
over there.
all of that. It did all of that. It put the lid on.
Yeah.
And right here, it comes here, and it's not on this side. It's authenticated, so you have to enter a code. So no one steals your coffee.
You authenticate on this side, and you order on that side, and you authenticate on this side, and then when you authenticate, it dispenses your particular coffee.
And there's an app where you can be over in your cube or on your way to work, and you say, I want to order this coffee, and then you come here and it's ready.
It's ready.
And you just go over here and it says it's ready. You hit your name and you hit in your code.
Guys, that's all really impressive, but tell me about the Linux. I want to hear about the Linux. It's running Linux. What kind of Linux?
How do you know this?
I know it's running Ubuntu Linux because I was here when the guy was working on it. I was like, can I look at this? And he's telling me that this is, a special arrangement with Dell.
Yeah.
So is this, when you're talking to the guy that services it, is that something that he had to get some special training? Was that really hard for him? Is it difficult to work on?
That's not the question to ask.
I think he was a mechanical engineer. But
the question to ask, and Jared, this is extremely important, when the hell are they going to do this with beer? Right? When are we going to get this with beer?
I'll have you know that their office is right next to a brewery. So
it could happen.
It could be in the pipeline.
I like it.
Come on, right there.
Best runs Linux Ever.
Our desktop pick this week is something that was bound to happen. In fact, once we tell you what it is, you're going to be surprised it wasn't already a thing. It's one of my favorite utilities under Linux, and they went graphical this week, and we'll tell you about that. But first, I want to thank our segment sponsor, and that's the great folks over at linuxacademy.com. linuxacademy.com is a platform to learn more about Linux. There's a lot of smart engineers here at Dell, and maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're not ready to go there. You need to learn a little bit. I know I would.
Learn a little bit?
I need to learn a little bit.
Come to Dell. Because you're at Dell.
I already did that.
Oh, yeah.
Would you keep up? I mean,
Sorry.
obviously, I need to learn a little bit, dude.
You're next level.
Well, no, I need to get next level. That's the problem. And I'm going to get next level by going to Linux Academy. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. That's where I'd like you to go to support the show. And also, sign up for a free 7-day trial at Linux Academy. Then you can try out the platform. Then you can see what they offer. Then you can try out the guides, the self-paced courses, the scheduler, the nuggets, the community forked note cards. If you want to learn about things deep down in Linux, linuxacademy.com. Go there, linuxacademy.com/unplugged. It's in the name. It's all they do. It's not a feature. It's all they do. Then they've expanded it since they've been an advertiser. Now they have the best courseware on Azure, AWS, OpenStack, containers. Oh man, I need education on all of that stuff. Now, if you're consider yourself a quote unquote DevOps person, they've got a ton of great courseware. We had a conversation with a gentleman who is like the expert on OpenStack here at Dell. Who did I realize how bad I need to go to Linux Academy after that conversation? linuxacademy.com/unplug. Learn more, sign up, support the show. Try it out for 7 days for free. There's not much more you need to know.
No.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
linuxacademy.com/unplug. That's where you go to support the show. And also to get a 7-day free trial. A big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. Now, our pick this week is... You ready for this?
I am.
You ready for the big reveal? Our pick this week. Now, no, go over there for me real quick. See, go over there. Actually, you know what? Hold on a second. I just realized we haven't explained the room we're in. Look at. Can you see it? We have for people. Well, that's Jared over there. Jared, say hi. Say wave. That's there. It is. Hello. There's Jared. Yeah. We are in the Dell Client Solutions Experience interactive lab, where basically they have like a third of their products here, which is still quite a bit of stuff, and they've let us hang out in here. So we are using some Dell equipment right now to do this broadcast. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to go to that equipment, which is what I thought Noah was doing earlier, and then I'm going to show you our pick. Boom! It is. You ready for this?
I am ready.
Graphical YouTube Download. GYDL. The name says it all. It is a graphical application to download pretty much anything that YouTube DL downloads, which is more than what the name implies. It sounds like it downloads YouTube videos. It does. It also downloads just about every other website that has video. I mean, it can scan the HTML, find the embed, extract the video out.
Right.
Super handy application. It can deliver to you in the native resolutions. It can pull out the audio and make an MP3 out of it, which is awesome if you want to convert a YouTube video into a podcast.
Now, let me ask you this. The first thing that comes to mind is I think this is really great, and I think it's much more user-friendly, but do you think it's as useful as the command line version?
You know me. I'm a Uwake Gwake guy.
I'm a shell monkey.
No, you know me. I got Uwake or Gwake mapped to my tilde key. I tap that. I paste the URL in there. I hit enter, and it downloads.
Yeah, after you put YouTube DL at the beginning.
Well, yeah. Actually, usually it's up arrow, delete, paste. So no, for me, I'm not going to ever even install this. It does. It's packaged. It's in the AUR. But I do know that there are folks out there that do need something like this.
Right.
That to me seems pretty obvious. That you take an application that's been stuck on the command line and you move into the graphical environment, it automatically opens it up to a whole new range of users.
Yeah.
And a whole new level of exposure, potentially getting YouTube DL screwed, shut down by YouTube, and sued out of existence. So,
exactly.
Good things all around. Lawyers are going to make some money. Some Windows users can use YouTube DL. Everybody wins, dude.
I was going to make an over reference, but no. We'll just leave it at that. It's a good thing.
But it actually, all that said, look how, if you're going to take that application with its trillions of settings, not that much, but it's got a lot of settings.
There's a lot, at least 1 trillion.
And pack it down into a UI. We're going to talk so much about Gnome this week that I feel like I shouldn't even say this, but this is how you do a GTK application.
Yeah.
It looks really simple, but at the same time, it's got thousands of settings stuffed in there.
Right.
And in the way it's using the header bar, like the download button, and very clear coloring, and it looks good with the ARC theme.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
So in that sense, I like it alone, because it's just really how you do a super, super complicated app from a real basic end user perspective. Somebody maybe would want to use this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And combine all those options into a GUI is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so
very much so.
I do say this is GYDL. It's up on GitHub. It's kind of hard if you search for it right now. You get like Reddit results and stuff like that, but you don't get the actual app.
Right.
So we have the link in the show notes if you want to find that. You just go get in the pick section, and it will be there. All right, Noah, let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com. Go to last.ting.com, las.ting.com, and sign up for mobile that's out there to make a difference. Here's what I like about Ting. You ready for this? It's really simple and straightforward.
Okay.
It's obvious, really, and it's sort of... In fact, we hear from people outside the U.S. that don't understand why all carriers aren't like this.
Right.
It's pay for what you use mobile. Minutes, messages, megabytes, you add them up, that's what you pay. That's it. And it's $6 for each line. So say Jared over there wants to get another Pixel. He's got the Google Pixel, and which I think he has on Ting. Yep, Jared's got that Google Pixel right. Just look at Jared. Look at Jared. Look at Jared over there. He's over there. He's got the Pixel on Ting. You see, so anything from like the high-end, really, really nice smartphones that all of us want. I mean, me at least. I would love to. I'm kind of jealous.
You would love a Pixel.
Yeah, I think when we leave, I'm going to sneak that Pixel away from Jared.
Yeah, that works.
He won't notice, right?
I'll grab it.
Yeah. You do that for me?
Yeah,
Thanks,
sure.
dude.
No problem.
So if you go to last.ting.com, if you can't steal Jared's cell phone, what you could do is pick one up. They have great devices that you can buy directly from them, or you can bring a device. Now listen, because this is where you're cooking with gas.
Okay.
If you bring a device, they're going to give you $25 in service credits. You're like, $25, Chris. I'm not going to switch my mobile carrier for $25. Let me tell you something. Your average bill, $23 a month. Okay, so if it's $23 a month, this month and the next month and the month after that and the month after that,
basically you're saving $75 a month. So really, it's like $100.
That's what I'm talking about.
After the first month.
And here's the other thing that's really great. It's not just the fact that they have like radically different customer service that's better than any other carrier out there. Like you get to talk to a real human.
Right.
But the thing that I love is they got the CDMAs and they got the GSMs. So if you're familiar with cellular technologies, you got your different networks. You got your digital networks, you got your cellular networks, and you got your 3G. Anyways, I'm not going to get all technical on you, Noah, because I know it confuses you.
Yes, the computers and this internet thing, it's just not my style.
Yeah, but all you do is you go to Ting, they'll take care of it. CDMA, GSM, they don't care. If you got a device that's compatible, you can bring it, or you can pick up a new one, or go grab one from Google Play and bring it yourself. Just do me a favor and go to last.ting.com. If you're not sure about Ting yet, too, they have a savings calculator up on that business. You click at that and say, what would you save? And also, dig around on their blog. They've got some really great posts recently. Some for you sports fans, and also those of us that are concerned about password hygiene.
Yes.
They have a post about practicing good password hygiene up on their blog. If you just want to read that even, last.ting.com to support the show, and if you decide to sign up, you're going to save some money. It's easy. Last.ting.com. Big thank you to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show, and thanks to you guys for supporting our sponsors to keep us going. All right, so I don't know if we have enough file size, enough storage space to actually properly do this story justice, so we're going to be thinking about it for weeks. But yesterday as we're recording, how's your mic? Is it good?
It's good.
It's good?
It just it likes to do this
Does it
thing.
keep flopping down, dude? What's the matter?
Just likes to do this thing.
You got floppy mic on? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't make fun of my mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's all right, bro.
It's not polite to point that out.
So, Mark Shuttleworth just sort of changed the Linux landscape in a big way. And I say that once we get into it, I think you'll understand why I say that. But what was announced was that Canonical, starting with, was it 1804?
Right, next LTS.
The next LTS, they're going to switch to GNOME by default. And they will be de-investing efforts into Unity 8. They will be sunsetting Unity 7.
Right.
They will be shipping GNOME by default on the next LTS Ubuntu. And the ramifications of that are ginormous. There's a personnel ramification within Canonical.
Right.
There is the universal packaging format ramifications between the fact that Snaps and Flatpaks are essentially competitors right now, and now Flatpak is essentially going to be supported everywhere by default, which is sort of true now, but is really going to be true once this transition happens. But I think the bigger thing that I want to start talking to you about and get your thoughts on is what seems to me the really big thing here is you now have Red Hat, SUSE, Canonical,
the corporate collaboration around a central desktop.
They're all working. I mean, and more. I got a list like as long as my arm. That they're all now working on GNOME. There is all of a sudden a ton of focus and energy going into GNOME. And the thing is, I was thinking about how is Canonical going to get credibility here? They obviously have had long-term relationships.
Yes,
things even as of a couple of weeks ago were getting merged back up from Unity. Like there was something they just recently pulled into GNOME. So there is still some cross-pollination.
And I think it's important to point out that Ubuntu has always been on GNOME. They called it a blessed distro. It was the Ubuntu GNOME flavor, and now that's just going to get the full force and backing.
Exactly. That's their in, right? They already have a beachhead there,
right?
And so that's when I started realizing that this just really means that Ubuntu GNOME just got a lot more weight.
Yes.
That makes the whole thing a lot more understandable.
Yes.
Then the other, so the huge ramifications of all of these companies now focusing on GNOME. I don't know if we're going to be able to realize what that means for maybe a couple of years. We might be able to see some early indications soon, but I think it's going to take a couple of years for that to really sink in. What are your thoughts on what this means for display servers on Linux? Because obviously we're all looking to move away from X11. Everybody hates X11 now. It's a hot thing to do to hate X11 apparently, which seems to be working just fine right here for us today. But anyways, yesterday it was going to be Mir shipping on Ubuntu.
Right.
Today it's Wayland now. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that first and foremost, it makes a lot of sense, right? I don't think there was a large portion of the community that thought that going to Mir was a really great idea to begin with.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's controversial. I know there's a lot of people that are writing hate mail right now, but that's the truth, is that you had the entire Linux ecosystem moving from one display server to another, and then you had Ubuntu out in La La Land moving from one display server to an alternative. And I think that competition is great, and I think that choice is great. But at the end of the day, I think that collaboration can sometimes be even better. And so as we see both of these major distros, both Red Hat and Canonical, the two major players, corporate players in the world, coming together, and they're both going to now be focusing on one display server, on one desktop, that, like you said, that
and SUSE too. I wouldn't count out their efforts. They actually, I think, contribute more to GNOME than people probably realize.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that's pretty big. There's also the sort of human side of this.
Yes.
So this is like a 7-year effort for Canonical.
Right.
And I think all of us could point to a few things that will probably persist from this effort.
Right.
So you could say that's worth something. Like the snap package format, I think some people think is a very competitive format, like myself.
Unity itself will persist in the form of a fork.
Yes, that's very true. And of course the LTSs are going to be supported for, years now, running Unity 7.
Yep.
But there is still going to be, now I don't really know, I haven't really heard much, but there is still going to be a fair amount of probably people that are going to lose jobs over this because it's simply
and it's
work that's not being done now.
And it's not just the employment and the money perspective, it's also the perspective of these people have dedicated their life to some of this stuff, These people hold this as a true belief because they're sort of fighting, industry trends to some degree to go work for a company like Canonical and work on Linux, desktop Linux specifically. So if you're buying into the desktop, environment, particularly one that is specific to a given distro, you have a lot of conviction there.
Yeah.
And in a press release, it's all over, essentially.
So one of the things too that I think is probably worth considering here is how do all of these companies that are shipping Unity, either System 76, Entroware, or Dell, or all the people you have for clients. You've noted to me over and over in one of your arguments about rolling versus LTS is my clients like the fact that Unity 7 hasn't changed much for the last.
Exactly, consistency.
This is
a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but see, I'm sure that Canonical must be planning to contribute like a patch set to GNOME or like an extension set. Maybe they could even do like the Unity extension that brings in things like HUD. Maybe it brings in things like the Unity launcher, because Unity launcher is not bad. It's not a bad launcher.
That will fix a couple of things, but here's what it won't fix: the 10+ years, not quite that, like 7 years, 7 years of information that has been accumulated on the internet on how do I change this setting, how do I modify that thing, and all of that is documented. And when you Google Ubuntu dual display, you're going to get all of the people that have to how to set that up.
The reverse is also true, though, because there is a fair amount of documentation out there for GNOME or how to do it on Fedora, and all of that's going to be a lot more applicable now, too.
If you know to search for that, right? Yeah. If you know that you're using GNOME.
Yeah.
And so I think, effectively they've just started an entire new version of Ubuntu, more or less.
Yeah.
From that perspective, and so I think that's going to be an interesting challenge.
So Michael Hall, Canonical employee, just sort of a couple of days before all this news broke, started a Hacker News thread that went up to like the top trending news for this thread for the day, like number 4 for the day. And one of the things that the number one thing actually by large margins from what I could tell. He put all the data out. From what I could tell, was people requesting drop Unity, drop Mir, go Gnome, go Wayland.
Right.
And this was a couple of days before the announcement.
Yeah.
And so it's obviously something that the user base that is actively interested wanted. So I think there will be enough news about this, and I think that with the fact that it's not until the next LTS, that whole end user finding documentation issue might be not nearly as blunt as it seems now by then.
Well, I think it will. And so again, it's important to remember that that Gnome on Unity has been there. You know, the other thing is though, I think overall it's a positive thing. There's some downsides to this, but overall, I think it's a really positive thing. I think it's a really good direction, and I have said time and time again that I think that Unity is really it's really a minority of people that really prefer Unity if you have a preference for a desktop environment. Obviously, default rules king. We always talk about that. But if you have a choice, and if you've used Unity compared to GNOME, compared to KDE, a lot of people will go to Xmonad, some go to KDE, some go to GNOME. I haven't found a lot of people that stay on Unity, and that becomes particularly clear when you go to a lot of Linux conferences.
I think, it really depends on the user base.
Of course,
the type of users that are answering Hacker News threads are the type of users that aren't probably installing Unity, but the type of users that are buying pre-built systems or you're deploying for your clients are using Unity, and that's honestly a larger user base.
And again, default reigns king,
Yeah, so I want to talk about the actual story itself for a second, go meta on this story, and talk about how this was almost, I think there was almost a universal reaction on the internet that this was unbelievable. When Mark Shuttleworth announced that they were going to drop Upstart and go to Systemd, everybody was surprised. Everyone was, wow, I didn't see that coming, but you know, it makes sense. When Mark Shuttleworth yesterday announced that they were dropping Unity 7, Unity 8, and switching to GNOME, and thus, by extension, Wayland, I would say surprised would be an understatement. Shocked would be a more accurate description of how people felt. Disbelief would be a huge...
Yes, how many... You know what? When we're sitting in this room, I'll set this up for you. We're sitting in this conference room. We had just concluded an interview. Chris kind of leans back in his chair, and he pulls his phone out, and he looks at it, and
See the news,
and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh my God, dude."
Yeah.
And he goes, Ubuntu's dropping Unity is the desktop and going to GNOME. And I looked right at him, and I did this. This is what I looked. I went, they're a couple of days late for April Fool. It's got to be a joke, though.
That was the most common. Is this April Fool's?
Yeah, and that's what I said. I said, it's got to be an April Fool. It's just a joke. I joked about switching to BSD. He's just joking about it's just a joke. And I didn't believe him. And then he's going, "No, man, this is on the blog site." I'm like, that can't be. And then we start pinging our contacts in various places. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, and some of them were surprised, too.
Wow.
Yeah, some of them were caught by surprise. It's a huge shakeup. I think it's a larger shakeup than we can actually appreciate from the outside.
Absolutely.
So, this is where I'm getting. So there is a sunk cost aspect to this with the fact that they've been working on this now for
7 years.
7 years. There's a sunk cost aspect to this. The fact that there's going to have to be some restaffing and elimination of jobs. Again, that's a huge cost.
Yes.
I'm trying to picture Mark Shuttleworth going through this process, talking with team members, and sitting down to write a blog post where he basically says, "This was tough. I loved this idea.
Yeah.
I was really convicted about this, but the market spoke, and they prefer the devil they know." And I think that's an implication of Chrome and Android and doing it there instead of doing their version of convergence, which is not as complete as Canonical's.
Yes.
You know, take one phone set down, you have a whole desktop. That was a more complete picture. But even the people we talked to that, and it was actually nobody here, but other places that are shipping, making their money on Ubuntu, were really unsure about Unity 8. They really weren't. There was a lot of market unsureness there. But even then, and even with all of us say, "Don't do Mir, don't go on your own," and all of the reaction when Unity. I mean, in a sense, he is eating all of that now.
Yes,
he's eating all of the hate he ever got for Unity. He's eating all of the hate he got for Mir. He's eating all of it, and he's coming out and saying, "Yeah, that's the way it is. This is the market reality."
Yeah,
I get the amount of to do that is really impressive.
But also, though, the amount... Well, I should say additionally, the intestinal fortitude as a business owner and as a leader, as a true leader, to be able to look at the reality that you live in and say, "Listen, I believe in this. I like this. I really think this is the better way to go. But because of constraints that are outside of my control, we have to, in order to stay competitive, we have to follow what the market wants. We're going to do this thing, uncomfortable as it is for a lot of us."
Yeah, it's
and
really
and the thing is, I have machines that I have Unity on, and I'm very, very happy with them.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, you were saying some things in GNOME that you hope get ported over in some fashion
that I need, or I have to. If they don't, if they don't change some of the things over into GNOME, I will not be able to use my 6 displays as I use them now. That's just the way it is.
This is this is the surprise factor, the whole shock. Noah and I, we follow this stuff every single week. We're always debating, is this story good enough to talk about? Is there meat on this bone to chew on? Is this something that people would care about?
Right.
And in that metric, using that metric to decide what we put in the show,
we don't have a metric anymore.
It blows off the scale.
Yeah,
because the ramifications are beyond affecting Ubuntu users.
Yes.
In fact, they're so far beyond just affecting Ubuntu users that it might be easily one of the biggest stories in the last few years.
And so think about this. We are at Dell right now talking about how they are pivoting an entire lineup of computers to be competitive on the Linux desktop. Servers are competitive on in Linux. We have two of the biggest players in the Linux desktop, and they have come together, and they're going to start working together to make a very cohesive desktop and system. We are at this point in time where all of these forces have come together, and I hate to use the cliche of the Linux desktop, but I really think this could be something different. I don't know. It's one of these stories where I think I'm going to unpack it for weeks. Yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to the drive home where I'm going to be thinking about this, and I'm looking forward to getting back on Linux Unplugged and discussing this with the Mumble Room and talking about it more with you. It's a huge story, so we should probably move on because there's a couple other things we want to talk about.
Yes.
But I do want to quickly mention, I think it's unity8.org will continue to be a port, like you mentioned, of Unity 8. I'm sure we'll probably see forks of Unity 7. And Marcus G, who I think I always mispronounce his name, so I'm sorry. But the very clever guy behind UbiPorts is going to continue those efforts on mobile devices. So it does live on in some regard. Another story that I thought was probably worth us talking about this week was there, and besides Lightworks, is there anything else you want to talk about before we talk about?
Nope.
Okay. So Lightworks 14 was in beta. We kind of talked about it a little bit. We've been kind of trying it behind the scenes for a few weeks, and this week they released the final version, right?
Yes.
And it is a total rework of the Lightworks editing application.
Right.
And it is much more targeted at like online video creators like ourselves and YouTubers and people that are maybe using Premiere or Final Cut today. It's kind of going after that market.
Right.
But obvious advantage of it works on Linux. And that means you get a wider access of hardware choices. You get better performance. There's a lot of reasons to actually edit video on Linux. And so Lightworks, there's been some communication between you and EditShare.
Yep.
And Lightworks has told you that this is a huge priority for them.
Yes. So what they're doing is they are recognizing that the market is looking for a video editor that is friendly for people to get started on, has a price point that people get started on, but has the latitude to grow when that editor wants to move up and up. And they have cornered that very high-end market. They have cornered that $20,000 market for people that have a dedicated console to edit on, stuff like that. But the software was designed at a time when importing from tape was a thing, and when managing media was similar to how I would manage tapes and data sets. And so they had things like bins, and they that would make sense for that kind of workflow. Well, we don't have that anymore. We record on SD cards and we move files over. And so what they have done with Lightworks 14, they have gone away from what the dynamic environment, or flexible environment, which is basically I can set up my windows.
You're already losing me, dude. You're losing me.
I can set up my windows any which way I want. I can have my preview windows big as I want. I can have my source windows small as I want. I can have them in any order I want. Yeah. I can set up my file browser however I want.
They really manage the work layout.
And they've gone away from that, and they've gone to what they call static layout, which is basically, basically if you've used DaVinci Resolve, it is almost identical. They have tabbed editing, so you start with the your log section where you can bring things in. You go to your edit section where you lay out, go to your video effects, and then finally render.
I mean, essentially, I think all we really need to say it's a top-down design, redesign of the UI, and
70 new features.
It's got a kind of an interesting model where for a really high-end video editor, you have a free model and then a pay model.
Right.
And the free model is pretty usable.
So the free model gives you 720p local, and you can do 1080p local as long as you have valid Vimo credentials. Now they have two models to If you'd like
Vimeo or Vimo? Is
whatever.
it VE or VI?
VI.
Vimeo.
Vimeo, yeah, sorry. I don't use it. I just signed up for the account so I can export 1080p. Anyway, so they have 2 models for actually purchasing it if you'd like to. Now, if you purchase it, you get access to pro-level codecs, so you get the DNX-H, which is the Avid codec, as well as ProRes. They also let you... They have 2 different models. For $500, you can buy the software outright, or you can pay like $149, I think it is, a year, and then you can use that. So you get version always. Okay. It's like a subscription service, but so really if you buy it outright, you're kind of banking on the fact that you're going to use the same version of the software for 5 years.
So it's almost So it's
almost never makes sense.
Yeah. But so we don't have, I don't think we have a ton of experience with it, but we've begun working with it. We've been reviewing it to see if it works for our workflow, because it obviously is applicable to our interest. I don't know how interesting it is to all of you, but I guess what I would say is the big picture here is that there is a company that is really getting serious about video editing on Linux, and they've just released the first version of this big redesign, and they're looking for a lot of input. They're specifically wanting to hear from Linux users. So if this is an area of interest for you, if you've played around with Kdenlive or OpenShot in the past and maybe felt like it didn't meet your expectations or you wanted something more,
lwks.com, and there's a forum there, and they are very responsive.
Yeah, so it's worth trying, and we're pretty excited about it. So we're hoping that everything you watched today from Dell was edited under Lightworks 14, and so far that's holding true. So that'll be our benchmark. All right, Noah, that's all the news for this week. We made the 2,500-mile trip down to Austin, Texas to get exclusive access to areas I bet some of you, I don't know if maybe anybody's ever seen before.
Area 2.
And Area 1 and PS2 and Building 5, and we could tell you all about that.
Don't forget the MDC.
Actually, that was pretty cool. It started, I don't know, a few months ago when Bart and George came on the Linux Unplugged show, and he was telling me about what they're doing at the Sputnik project. He told me a little bit about the team, and I went, holy crap. I was telegramming Noah. Hey, Noah, if this was 3 years ago, people would be collectively crapping their pants, and if this was 5 years ago, their heads would be exploding, right?
Yeah, you did.
Because it is
huge.
It is an integration of Linux at a level that I think none of us fully understood or appreciated. At least I definitely didn't before I got down here.
Right.
And then the other thing is, they are learning with their interaction. So when they're trying to sell these Linux systems, they're learning within those interactions and how to take community interaction and apply it to other aspects of their business.
Sure.
So it's kind of like we're here while something really interesting is happening.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to watch it happen to such a large company.
Right.
So we go around Dell today talking to people about what they do, different teams, and all of that. So I'm very excited to show that to you because I don't think you're ever going to see that anywhere else for a long time, because we got this big contract in place where if they let anybody else in here, I am suing them. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, okay, but hold on. To be fair,
I'm totally kidding.
To be fair, though, nobody has that I've ever seen. I don't remember ever seeing a broadcast from inside Dell.
No, I don't think so.
This is going to be something special coming up.
You know what else is special? DigitalOcean. Go over to DigitalOcean.com and take advantage of our sponsor's promo. Just use the promo code Here's the Thing after you sign up at DigitalOcean.com. You go there, you sign up, and you get yourself a $10 credit. Now, they got a rig for $5 a month, you guys. For $5 a month. $5 a month, and you can get a really nice Linux rig up in the cloud. And what's the cloud in this case? It's their awesome infrastructure. All SSDs, 40 gigabit E connections into the hypervisors, KVM to run all of it, which is, of course, running on top of Linux. They got SSDs for all the disk I/O, top to bottom. Top to bottom, they got SSDs.
You know what's funny? Bet they have Dell servers.
They probably do. They probably have had to buy a lot of them. You can deploy in seconds, which is really nice because if you just want to try something out, it's nice to shave some of that time off. So the fact that you can get a system up in under a minute, it's pretty boss. That's actually a pretty boss level thing to do. I think the other thing that maybe is underappreciated, especially when you start thinking about backups or caching or proxying, is they have private networking. And what's really fantastic about private networking is you don't have the transfer count against your total. So say you might have like a terabyte of bandwidth, which is mind-blowing to begin with.
Yeah.
Say you're on the cheapest one
right.
for terabyte of bandwidth.
Exactly.
But you can use private networking to do like backups and snapshots and replication and caching that doesn't even count against that terabyte.
Yeah.
And And then you have block storage, so if you need to increase the storage of your droplet, you just attach it. So if maybe you want to run an MB server on there, maybe you want to host some torrents, maybe you're working on a project and you got a lot of logs, whatever it might be, you just add storage as you need it. You got Nextcloud up there, add a little bit of block storage. Of course, it's all SSD based. You can manage it inside the operating system like a block device. So if you want to put the ZFS on there or the XFS or even the ButterFS, you can do that too. Although don't tell us here at the Linux Action Show. We don't want to hear that. They have a really cool system too where they can do caching in like a CDN to make you super fast. So you're like big time, you're big league. And they're I don't know, maybe they've done this soon, but it's happening really soon. They're launching a monitoring and alerting system.
No, they launched it.
They did?
Yeah, I got a notification.
I knew it was coming soon. Yeah. Next level.
Next level.
Because then you can be a guy or a gal running a system,
right,
and get alerts when you're out getting coffee, like a hipster.
Exactly. You can be like, "Bing, my server just went off. My server called me."
I know it's really cool.
And then after you get the alert, then you can go manage it from the Swimmer app that's available in the Android Play Store.
They have a great API too, which a ton of apps and resources and open source utilities take advantage of. They contribute hosting to a bunch of open source projects, and DigitalOcean uses open source themselves throughout the company. A lot of the tools they've built are open source and available to the community. DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code Here's the Thing, and a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. All right, dude, let's go inside Dell. In early April, we traveled to Austin, Texas to go behind the scenes at Dell to get exclusive, never-before access and see how far and how deep their Linux commitment goes.
My first Linux distribution or release was Yggdrasil Linux.
First experience with Linux was in 1999, roughly.
Majority of the HPC systems are running Linux, especially in our lab. Most of our systems are running Linux.
I was introduced to Linux in college in 1994.
I started with Linux back in 2003, 2004. My first distro was Gen 2.
We thought the big story was the hardware behind Project Sputnik, but we soon realized it was the people behind the project.
What the program was sincerely lacking was an evangelist. It was the developer focus, right? So I wasn't the guy who came up with the idea. We had Stephen O'Grady of Redmond came in. I was in a team at that time which was trying to figure out how do we make ourselves more relevant to the giant web companies. So we had the custom design systems that serve them well, but how do we get more value add? And this is where the idea is, well, why don't you make a preloaded Linux which is targeted developers? So I thought, great idea, but it'll never fly because the low volume compared to the Windows things we do, people will say, hey, we're busy enough with what we've got, don't bother us with that.
Right.
So that's where I put this sort of on a shelf, and then about 3 months later, not only did we finally get a really good looking XPS, but at the same time this innovation fund came up. And so I thought, okay, perfect way to jumpstart this.
My name is Joyce Burke, and I am a product marketing manager as part of the Precision Workstation line of business here. And I'm going to be talking about the all-in-one that we've got coming out in the next 2 weeks. Much like all of our Precision products, mobiles, towers, and now our all-in-one, we also support a couple Linux distributions. We support Ubuntu, which we've got loaded on this system, as well as Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So with this system, you can see this stunning front of screen here. This is actually a 4K ultra high def display, and this one actually supports touch as well. We do have a non-touch option. All systems come standard with 100% Adobe RGB, as well as this, for the fully immersive experience, this integrated soundbar here, basically. So we support up to 80-watt Xeon CPUs. We also have the latest AMD Radeon Pro graphics. And at the high end of that, all of our touch systems ship with the WX7100 that is VR ready. Okay. It also has 8 gigs of frame buffer memory on there. The system memory, we can go up to 64 gigs, and you can have the choice of ECC or non-ECC. There's 3 drive bays, basically, a PCIe slot for SSD, as well as 2 2.5-inch SATA drive bays. So we do have a choice of spinning hard drive or SSD.
Where you have an XPS product, we've kind of stepped it up a little more for our Precision 5520. We go up to Xeon class processors, 32 gigs of memory, 2 terabytes of internal storage, PCIe and SSD storage, and it has professional graphics. We have a 4 gig NVIDIA Quadro M1200 graphic card in here. So starting at weight, sub 4 pounds, thinnest, lightest, smallest 15-inch mobile workstation on the market.
And now the moment that literally everyone, but most importantly, Chris, has been waiting for is See? Don't take it until after I'm done with the interview. Then you may steal it. Welcome to the most powerful mobile workstation on the market today, the Dell. What is the exact model?
It is the Dell Precision 7720.
Okay. Well, let's get this out of the way. How many second mortgages do I have to take out of my house to purchase this?
It's not that bad. Starting at price at about $16.99.
Wow.
Fully loaded, you can get north of 10K.
Okay. Did you say $10,000?
Yes.
Okay. Just as a thought experiment, tell me how I would get to 10,000. What do I get for 10K?
For 10K, you get our highest performing Xeon class processor, 64 gigabytes of ECC memory to go along with that. You get a Ultra HD 4K display, 100% Adobe color gamut. You get an NVIDIA Quadro P5000 graphic card with 16 gigs of dedicated DDR5 memory on board. 3 terabytes of PCIe SSD storage, and a 97 watt-hour battery.
Wow. Wow, that's all. I don't.
No, and so one thing about our precision line of business, we really have over-engineered them when it comes to performance. So these have patent-pending thermal solutions in them. So the 7720 actually has IP from the server and storage side when it built into it. So it actually has a dual fan design that is redundant upon each other, which allows it to run concurrently at 100/100. So you're able to have a 45-watt processor that's actually kicking closer to 60 watts and a 100-watt graphic card all at the same time running at full throttle. The 7720 is also the first VR-ready mobile workstation on the market. So
wow, on a laptop.
On a laptop, right. So portability of a 7.5-pound system, being able to take it with you, plug in your VR headset and do presentations on site, and not have to worry about shipping a big old tower.
The hardware was extremely impressive, and you could see the pride that they had for these products. It's some of the best stuff they've ever made. And yes, I did steal that $10,000 laptop. Some of the most fun I had, though, was chatting with folks that have been involved with Linux for a long time, like Dell's Director of Software Engineering, John Terpstra, who also helped start the Samba project.
So I downloaded the Samba source code and recompiled it again on the now slightly later version of Interactive and their compiler toolchain. And I had a few problems with it, so I looked at the source code and I saw Andrew Tridgell's name and telephone number in the source code. Oh. So I called Andrew and I said, Andrew, I'm trying to compile this code and it just won't compile. He said, line 1106, there's a semicolon missing off the end of the line and it trips up all the compilers.
Of course.
So I put the semicolon in place, it built, and
I've been there.
And the site tried it and it worked, and the files no longer broke. And that began a rather exciting journey.
John had a ton of experience and a lot of great stories from years of working in the open source community, like Rick Martinez.
I've been at Dell for just a little over 20 years.
Who knows a bit about security.
I've been going to security conferences for half a decade now, really kind of a late bloomer there, but you quickly realize when going to these conferences that everybody, all the hackers, all the people that are doing real security research are using Linux, right? So go out to GitHub and you get the researcher code, run it on our box, see what it does, make sure we're protected against the vulnerabilities or attacks that they've shown in their research, things like that.
In just a few short years, Dell has gone from a long-shot idea to the Latitude, Precision, and XPS lines all ready to run Linux. More than that, though, I was blown away by the long-term commitment to Linux by the people at Dell who had been working behind the scenes for years to make what we saw here possible.
If I had to boil down my impressions from our trip, I'd say I had no idea just how many products, departments, and teams at Dell contribute to Linux. What we're seeing today is an accumulation of nearly 20 years of Dell learning how to work upstream and create communities around ideas like the Project Sputnik. And I think their timing couldn't be better. From enterprise high-performance computing, modular data centers, to the XPS line, Dell has some great products running Linux. But but their real competitive advantage is 20 years of investment in Linux. And now it's time for the feedback, and this segment of on-location shooting at Dell is brought to you by the fine folks at System 76, because rising tides, right? No? Rising tides. System76.com, creators of machines born, created, designed to run Linux. And that flashing on the screen there, that's brought to you by OBS. Look at that. OBS. That's just really awesome. It seems to not like when we have animation, so...
I gotta fix this. I gotta fix this.
No, dude, no.
Okay.
System 7, you know what? It just encourages people to go there and see it for themselves. You go to System76.com, and you can go check out these machines. I think the Galgo Pro up for pre-order right now. That's not it. That's not it at all. That's not what I wanted. And, you know, we just keep going. System 76. You know, they make some crazy powerful servers, too, with big old GPUs in them. But let's talk about that Oryx Pro. I mean, if you're going to get a monster, right, that's the Oryx Pro right there. Woo, check it out at System76.com. Go there and get a rig built to run Ubuntu with a company that's integrated right in with the community. You know, I like that. I like that a lot at System76.com. And then when you check out, tell them that Noah switched you to Linux. And if your screen doesn't flicker like our screen, then you're not doing a live show on location with just a few minutes left. So you have to keep going at System76.com. All right, so you guys had some fun last week.
We had some fun last week.
Alan came on the show. I was driving down to Tejas, and I don't know exactly what happens. Like, I'm not there for 1 week, and all of a sudden you've switched to BSD. You're an iPhone user.
Right.
So tell me, how's that been received?
Not good. So for those of you who don't know, it was a joke. It was an April Fool's joke. So it started kind of like this.
It seemed like some people didn't know.
It seemed like some people didn't know, and you know, it's funny. I didn't actually talk to you about the narrative I was going with.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the narrative I sold was, this is why we had to kill last, because you didn't want to go on air with me.
That's why would people care about that? Why would
you wouldn't want to go on air with me if I wasn't going to use Linux?
No, that was the other co-host.
Rising tides. So anyway, it was a big joke, and we made a post on. I had this picture and stuff, and so you can go back last week and watch it. But as I was going through the Reddit, there were some people that commented on it, and they're actually really funny. So
they are good, dude.
So I thought, I
just snorted on the show.
Did you close my?
No, I didn't close it.
Okay, so here we go.
That's good.
Chris screwed it up. Chris screwed it up. Okay.
How did I screw that up?
Okay, so here's what Chris did when he screwed it up.
I didn't.
I kind of screwed it up. So this guy, he goes, this guy clearly, he knew that it was a joke. He says, ha ha ha, no intro OS, BSD, ha ha ha, and an iPhone, MacBook, and Apple tablet, ha ha ha, no more Telegram, ha ha ha, April Fools. You know, immediately he was like, this can't be right.
You know, actually, I think, and I saw this comment a couple of times, it wasn't the MacBook, it wasn't you getting rid of Android, because, you know, MacBook's not horrible hardware. I mean, it's got 16 gigs of RAM, but and you know, and you're not like some Android super fan,
right?
You're not like an Android super fan, so I could almost see those things. But what I think maybe where you went too far, because what gave it away to some people was when you said you were dropping Telegram. And then everybody knew, Noah lives by Telegram.
You know, actually, that wasn't even planned. Just that, you know, Alan goes, well, how can you hit me up? You know, you've got, and then he gave some obscure app that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm on iMessage.
Oh, God.
And then I was like...
You know, also a huge thank you for Alan. He's super busy these days, for making time to come on the show and hang out with us. And I think, although I don't know for sure yet, but I've heard a rumor that he might also make it to Linux Fest Northwest. Did he say anything to you?
Yeah, he's coming.
Oh, he is. Good.
There's one more piece of feedback, if that's okay.
Yeah, can you actually switch to it with
yes,
this?
Yeah, I think so. And so this guy writes in, and he says on the Reddit, he goes, can I just say that on a day when I'm happy that I didn't fall for any of the lame April Fool's jokes, I fell for Noah's switch.
Yeah, that happened.
The first part of the segment, even before the picture, halfway through, I was like, oh, dang, Noah got me. And then I figured out he was up to something. But when Alan started talking BSD versus Linux and sold it as a legit segment, I let my guard down. Good job, guys.
That was good. You know, I think one of my favorite moments also in that whole thing was when Alan did the intro.
Oh yeah,
or not the intro, but the tease.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this week on the Linux Action Sucks Show.
Yeah, no. The Linux Sucks Action Show.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's what it was. It was
a good Alan, dude.
Yeah.
That was super funny. So, you know, that pretty much brings us to the end of this week's show. If you've got ideas for topics or news stories, or if you want to comment on some of the huge news or our tour of Dell, linuxactionshow.reddit.com, or hit me up on Twitter at ChrisLAS.
At Colonel Linux and Ask Noah Show, which will be live tomorrow, Monday, and it's
how
4
are you going to do
Pacific,
that?
4 p.m. I'm figuring that out. 4 p.m. Pacific, 7. Not tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, because by the time this airs, it'll be tomorrow.
Oh yeah, of course.
4 p.m. Pacific. It'll be 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. JBLive.tv and locally broadcasted KEQQ 88.3 FPFM Grand Forks, and we are going to talk. I'll take your calls about Unity, and if you have any questions or thoughts, so 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6065. Jesus Christ!
He's going to use this headset instead of that headset too.
I'm going to use a different headset,
so
we
he
won't
doesn't have headset problems. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Ask Noah Show on Twitter, and you can also send him your questions if you go to the contact page. It's also a great way to contact this show. Turns out, and is it AskNoahShow.com to get
Ask Noah Show is the Ask Noah dashboard.
The new show is out. The first episode has launched, and all of the feeds are live where you can subscribe to the Ask Noah Show. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That's a ton of work. Also, you can follow the entire network on Twitter at Jupiter Signal, where you find out about show announcements, stuff like that. We'll be live. Go to jblive.tv to watch it, and you can find our time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. A huge thank you to Dell. Thank you to Barton. Thank you to Jared and everybody who took us around and showed us all of their deep secrets here at Dell. It has been a massively illuminating experience, and it has been one that I don't think I will ever forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been, and we can only show you so much. And we have more content coming, so stay tuned. We have more great content coming. We can only show you so much, but I hope you get a little sense how crazy committed this company is to Linux, which is a huge mindset change for me.
Yeah.
My eyes have been opened. It was really great. And, you know, I just want to point out it was pretty brave of Dell to let us do this, because this was something that was my idea to get in here and do this to try to understand what they're doing with Linux. It was really my intention to try to better tell the story here. It wasn't a marketing thing on their part. It wasn't something led by PR. It was something led by myself and other engineers and folks inside Dell, geeks who are Linux geeks, and they get the community, and they wanted to see this happen. And I know that behind the scenes, they had to move levers and twist knobs that probably cost them a few favors to make all of this happen. And we were shown stuff that people have never seen. So big thank you to Dell. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and keep an eye out for future content. But that is it for this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, live from Austin, Tejas. And we'll see you right back here next week. Okay, all right. Quit making noise, you son of a gun.
Okay.
All right. Would you quit flinging? Are you trying to?
No, I'm not. It just fell down again.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And now that the picks are all done, let's go inside Dell. Is that too corny?
Yes.
Okay. What should I say?
Something long. Something not that you can tell that we just cut it in.
Okay. All right. So.
What did we just finish talking about? So yeah,
damn it. There's a line at the. Noah, look at that shot. There's a square around the whole shot. Noah.
Why did you do that?
I can't even. That probably means your shot has that too. It's the attention to detail, Noah. It's what makes the difference.
Hey, Chris, good news. Mine looks perfect. It just
yours looks good, huh?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I'll stand over here then.
Yours the only one that screwed up. You're the only one that screwed up. That's all.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Huh? He did. Yeah. It's fine for me. Yeah, it works for me. Yeah, it works for me. He did do that. He works for me. He just works for me. You just works for me, dude.
No, here's what I did. I just.
No, I just want to record an out, bro. I just want to record a quick out.
You were the one that did this, didn't you?
No. Don't even try to do that. Oh, my God.
I'm pretty sure this is your fault.
What should I say? I'll say, you're going to want to download this. Speaking of YouTube download, you're going to want to download this episode because, dude, you're getting a Dell tour. You guys don't hate it when people do that? I thought maybe that might be the case. Like, there was probably an annoyance period, but now you've just pushed through it because it's over. Like, now it's almost meme-y. It's like, it's kind of good to be a meme in some sense. I can't believe how long this adjustment takes.
Well, give me a second.
This Red Bull's going to wear off in 25 minutes, and then it's your fault.
Here's the thing. If Beard was here, this would be done in 3 seconds. I don't know how to do this.
When this Red Bull wears off, I am coming for you, Chalai. I am coming for you.
So you got some anger issues.
Yeah, me. Yeah, that's true, actually.
Okay. There. Turns out there's a button that says stretch to screen.
How come it feels like it's 27 frames and not 30 frames?
Because it is 27 frames. When did that start?
I don't know. But
you know what it is? Probably because I was editing.
What kind of occasions does it require for you to drink beer?
Me?
Yeah.
Whenever somebody offers it.
Okay. It doesn't seem like we ever go get beer much.
Yeah. Well, with all our spare time, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? If people knew how little barbecue we were eating while we were down here, they would be literally ashamed of us.
It is kind of a shame. I mean, we come all the way to Texas, and we don't have we don't eat barbecue. We don't drink beer. The 2 things you're supposed to do in Texas are 3 things really: shoot guns, eat beer, drink barbecue.
Right. Wow. And we like all those things.
We like.
Well, you especially.
Yeah.
But dude, we're at Dell. Okay.
I'm not sure if you got the last message or not, but I can't check it because the power's out.
What? He can't check it? Oh my gosh, I'm out of here. I'm out. Okay. All right.
We actually got the last message, but good point, I guess.
I just want miracles.
No,
It was you that wants miracles.
No, good point. I guess if you can't handle it, we understand.
Dude, you're trolling him. Okay, all right.